Holidays are upon us, just like every year. And this year, I want to talk about discussions that you should have during the holidays. It's a pretty unique time where a lot of family get together. And when it comes to retirement planning and financial planning, there are certain topics that you should keep private. But today, I want to talk about certain things that you should be doing this holiday season. And because sometimes it can be awkward, I'm going to give you some tips on how to make it not awkward. Speaking of awkward, let me bring in my co host, Tony. Welcome to the show, Tony. And I want to invite you on this festive, look at the background on our YouTube videos, a little festive, no more dolphins. I hope you're in the holiday spirit. We're getting close to the end of the year. And
That's awesome.
yeah. And I want to talk today about what you should be discussing during your family get-togethers, assuming you get a family get-together. In the past, we've done shows, which my personal favorite is when we did several shows on gratitude, the actual financial benefits of showing gratitude. I'll put those up there for listeners.
Loved that show. I think that those are my favorites. I think we did 2 shows on that, and it was great.
We also did a show on holiday financial lessons on holiday movies, which
yeah.
You were a big proponent of that, had a lot to add on that, including your strong take that Die Hard is a holiday movie.
Yeah. And I love the analogy when we talked about It's a Wonderful Life. I mean, obviously, you're Mr. Potter and I'm George Bailey. I mean, that's obvious. That's the obvious.
What do you want, Tony? So the moon. So we're going to talk today about get-togethers around the holidays, and we got Thanksgiving coming up, but this is going to be applicable to any sort of holiday gathering. And I want to talk about some things you should be discussing as a family in order to keep the family harmony. That's the end goal. It's not to cause financial turmoil, it's to prevent financial turmoil. And it's a tricky scenario because we grew up, and I don't know if the current generation feels this way, Generation X, but I mean, Z or whatever it is. We grew up, Tony, you and I, not discussing finances.
Right.
It was taboo.
Yep.
Right. And I remember as a kid, my grandparents, and they were getting older. I remember in 60s. Wow, they were old in their 60s. There was a very unwritten situation of, well, where are they living? How are things going health wise? No discussions, especially not with the kids.
No.
Now, I don't know if my parents had discussions with their parents, but it was.
I know mine did not.
Right. And so I'm suggesting that this is an opportunity for you to be proactive. And I'm saying you, the listener, you might be looking at retirement. You might be retired. You might be older, or you might have older parents. This is something that might really, really help, more so than any investment you can make or stock pick or tax plan. This discussion could really lead to success in a way that's not typically measured by a number. It's more of family harmony, which is really a loose term.
Sure.
But I think you know what I mean when we're talking about family harmony, because we all know that financial matters can destroy a family. Yep. And especially when someone passes away and there's inheritances and there's loose ends and money corrupts.
Saw it with my dad and his siblings when my grandfather died. I've mentioned that before, but yeah. One of them, one of the family members isn't talking to one of the 4 siblings isn't talking to the others at this point, and vice versa.
Still.
Yep.
That's still the case, huh?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, my dad and his brother, at least, and the one brother passed away. I think Alma, his sister, is the one that's trying to. Her and I are trying to harmonize. I will still talk to everyone, but my dad and his brother have a problem. Yeah, it was over my grandpa's truck.
Something simple. How much is the truck worth, Tony? Are we talking about a $500,000 earth mover, or
no? Not at all. And that's the irony. Yeah, that's the irony is like, oh, you can have the tractors. It's like worth way more money. It's just unbelievable to me. Unbelievable. Well, and the reason is Grandpa said I could have, or Dad said I could have the truck. Nope, Dad said I could have the truck.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, and I mean, I know because I was there. My grandfather did indicate to my dad that he could just have his pickup because he figured it'd go. My grandfather thought farm equipment, and he left the farm equipment to my dad because my dad's the one that lived on the actual farm. But Jim was the executor of the will, and he came and picked up the truck and drove it away. Oh man, was my dad mad. So
It's
anyway,
amazing, right? Amazing.
it is just stuff like that. It's just, and they were tight knit, close, loving to each other their whole lives until this happened.
So I want to talk about how we can avoid this.
Yes.
And maybe they couldn't be avoided. Maybe certain things can't.
Sure.
But I think the holidays is a perfect time to do this, as crazy as it sounds.
Communication is key.
People say, right.
People say don't talk about this at a holiday celebration. I just heard somebody give a 15-minute, rant on how the worst time to bring this up is at a holiday, during the holidays.
Well, I'll leave it to me to say the opposite.
You're a contrarian, and I like this. It's good to have different angles. So where are you coming from with this?
I'm coming from the fact that this is one of the rare times that the family is together.
Yes.
All together.
Agreed.
Right? And so we can have an open discussion where everyone's involved and everyone can hear it.
Yes.
Not back in, secret conversations.
Right.
And it doesn't even need to be secret, but you could say one thing. It's like that game telephone, it's like things get mixed around.
Sure.
So I have some questions that I would suggest you ask your family or you answer, or these questions should be answered in some fashion at your next holiday gathering. And then I'll give you some tips on how to make it not so awkward. So here are some questions that I think
that's what we need, are the tips to keep it from being creating family disharmony. Yeah.
I'll get to the tips that are pretty good.
Okay.
I thought about them. I wrote them down, but here are some of the things that would be nice to be able to openly discuss. Mm-hmm. First, are there any documents created? And when I mean documents, is there a will? Is there a power of attorney for financial matters, for health care decisions, for a trust? Is there a documentation to keep things in order legally? That's a legitimate question that should be asked at a family gathering. It's not intrusive. It's just saying, hey, mom, or hey, son, I've created my will. It exists. It's available. I have it here. Here's a copy. Or, hey, Dad, have you created a will? If so, why not? And the idea is to find out if these things exist. The idea is not to create them at the Thanksgiving dinner table, right? To start saying, well, what do you want? It's more of, do you have it? If not, why not? And if not, let's plan in the future as a family to make that happen, right? The real goal is just to share your insight, find out what's going on, and then ideally set a time in the future to make the changes needed to fix the deficiency. In this case, there are no documents. All right, why don't we schedule a time with a lawyer next month to just get this going, right? That's it. You don't have to dive deep. Let me see the will. Let me read it. No, you're just finding out what's available.
Right.
And in your case, Tony, if that was asked, maybe it would have been, okay, here's the will. Let me look later. And then you see the truck's not listed. What do you want to do with the truck? Right.
Right.
That's where I say, is there an asset list? You're asking for the asset list, not because you want to know who's getting what. You want to know what do you have?
Right.
Do you even know what you own?
Yeah. Getting everybody on the same page as to what is there to be allocated to different people. And I get that. But I think the holiday discussion, or when you have a time when the whole family's together, which is rare for a lot of families these days, when you have all your siblings and your parents or grandparents, however it works out, I think that what needs to happen is They need to go around and say, let's be really honest, and say what we expect. Dad, mom and dad, what do you want? Who do you want this to go to? This, create that list of assets. But I think because people, you'd be surprised at what can cause the family disharmony. With my grandpa Whelan, it was his Mason's ring. He had a ring. He was a Mason all his life, and his dad they were part of the Masons, and my grandfather was active in that. And he had a really nice ring from the Masons, and everybody knew that meant a lot to him. So he had 3 daughters, and of course, 2 of them, my mom and her sister, wanted it. So I wanted it. I'm like, I want my dad's Masons, or my grandfather's Mason. So at any rate, if that could come up beforehand and get a clear direction from the dad or the mom, the truck, the ring, whatever it is in that family, the dresser that's, the china hutch that's been in the family, whatever it is, which is worth nothing to a lot of people, but some person that might be their most cherished item of their families, right?
You bring up a really good point. A lot of the things that are on a traditional asset list are going to be something you can title: the house, the farm, the car, the IRA account. You can name beneficiaries.
Yeah.
You can have someone owning it.
Yeah.
That should be known. Like, who owns the house? Is it jointly owned?
Yeah.
Or is it in a trust? Right.
There you go.
But you're going to the next level, which is, hey, what about some of the things that we can't necessarily put a title on or a beneficiary?
Yeah.
What about that ring? What about that necklace?
Yeah.
And it's a fine line, though, Tony. At the holiday table, you don't want to say, I want that necklace.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. Yeah, right? I'm wrong in that you might want to bring that up. But somehow these discussions have to happen. But yeah, the holiday table is not.
But you can say, hey, don't forget about the china cabinet, because that's an important heirloom. So you can go in the what do you want to keep in the family to keep the family harmony going together? Hey, Dad, I think one of the things that you should address in your plans is the china cabinet, because that's a family heirloom and that could cause some disharmony.
And while you're of right mind, you need to put that in the will, distinctly say, this is who I want this to go to, or I want this sold and it distributed, or, these are my wishes and I want you to stick to them.
Right.
Yeah.
And then on a little bit more awkward, yet really more important, I would say, is, hey, Mom, what do you see as the future of your living arrangements? Do you have a burial plan? What if you need long-term care? Where would you want to live? Where do you want to go? And, this reminds me of a Thanksgiving dinner that I had years ago at my parents' house. And it was me and both my parents and all 3 of my brothers and their spouses and the children. The children were in a separate room, but we were all at the dinner table. And leave it to my family to come up with this. I don't know what sparked it, but we were talking about burials and coffins. And my mom made a comment about a coffin that she really thought was beautiful. I think she was referencing a recent funeral. And in me, a red flag went off, because I remember vividly having a conversation with my mother prior to this, years prior, about her wanting to be buried in a wooden box like you see in the Western movies.
Yeah.
Just the wooden, right? She's like, that's what I want. And I took it to heart, and I mentally put it up here, and I said, all right, I'll fight for that. I will make that happen. Meanwhile, when she said that, one of my other brothers said, you like that? You said you wanted, I forget what he said. You wanted to be cremated or something like that. And then all of us kind of at that moment realized that no one knew what she wanted, including herself.
including her, unfortunately. Yeah.
Right. And I immediately saw this is going to be a family harmony problem.
Right.
Because if my mom died soon after, I would have been fighting for the wooden box.
Sure.
And my other brother would have been fighting for this. And then it's like, write it down, Mom, which she eventually did. And when she passed away, everything worked out because she actually took the time to do it. But during the family gathering this year, if you haven't, it might be wise to ask those that are older, what are your plans? Do you have your burial plans? Do you want to be flown back up to New York where you were born? Like, you got to let us know that. Or do you want to be buried here in Florida? Or do you, do you want to be cremated and be spread in the 9,000 lakes in Minnesota, right? Like,
Right.
so these kind of questions are awkward, but important. And I think this is a perfect time to have them. But let's get in some tips on how to make it not awkward.
Yeah.
Because,
there you go.
So again, what documentation do you have? What are your wishes? Just get the things flowing. And the objective isn't to write them down and make it happen there. It's to say, hey, we should in the future address these things. And now let's talk about politics. No, we don't want to do that.
No, there are things you don't want to talk about at a holiday gathering, and politics is a big one.
So let's talk about some icebreakers, Tony. How do you bring this up without being crazy, right? Or
hey,
awkward?
Mom and Dad, when you're dead,
right?
Probably the
Dad,
wrong way to do that.
When are you gonna kick the bucket? And what are you doing with the car? I saw you got some new tires on the car. What are you thinking?
No, don't do that.
Celebrities. I think celebrities are a very easy way to bring this up. Or a family friend, a story. Hey, did you hear about Margaret's funeral? How the kids were, she didn't have a will. Or celebrity. You can go Michael Jackson.
Prince.
Michael Jackson did it all, and he had a trust, yet he didn't put anything in the trust. So boom, went through probate. Prince, of course, you bring up the Minnesota native, homegrown boy. He died without a will, intestate. Nothing. How many years has it taken to get his estate settled?
And so many family members came out of the woodwork saying that he promised them things, which it's some of it's still.
You didn't say make a claim. You know who won on that? You know who gained the most on that?
The
Prince
lawyers
situation.
and the lawyers, the attorneys in the court, and the courts.
Yeah.
The court fees alone, years and years in the courts, years and years of attorney's fees. And they're just pulling that money out of the estate the whole time.
Totally. We had Aretha Franklin. We did a show on that.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
She died without any wills, and then they found 3 wills handwritten.
Yeah.
After.
Well, she said she had.
Different things.
Yeah. Yeah. That's tough.
Right. So I would lead with that, because people can look at that and not feel internalized and be like, oh,
and the guy from The Sopranos too, he had a messed up.
James Gandolfini.
James Gandolfini. I think he was the one that had a will, but they couldn't find it, or he said
no. Yeah. He got crushed in taxes. He had all the wills, but he screwed up on how he left it, so the IRS got a ton of his money, and the family didn't. Just because he didn't factor. So that could be an angle you take in the family gathering. Hey, we all hate the IRS. My mom worked for the IRS, so that wouldn't work. But we all hate the IRS. Let's work together as a family, harmony, to play defense, right?
Right.
So that's one way to do it. Another might be to bring up a rule change or a law change. So, for instance, you might say, "Oh, did you hear that the One Big Beautiful Bill
estate tax
allows for charitable deductions and itemization without itemization? So you can leave 1,000 to a charity in 2026 and not have to itemize your taxes. What do you think about leaving money to charity? Do you want to do that? And so on and so forth.
So open the door to the discussion that way. Yeah. That's a great idea.
A rule change or a law change. Now you might want to avoid politics and not bring a One Beautiful Bill. You might say, hey, Congress passed a law, a tax rule change and so on.
Yeah.
It's a good way to bring it to the current situation, and then, hey, maybe we need to change our plans. By the way, what are our plans? Right? So it's kind of a low, not an aggressive way to be like, hey, Dad, when are you going to die and what are you leaving me? Which brings up my last tip, which is do not ask about the values. It's one thing to say, hey, do you have named beneficiaries on your IRAs? Because that will bypass probate, and that's the greatest way.
Don't say, hey, as long as we're talking about this, how much money you think you're going to leave us?
Right.
What's your estate worth? Yeah, no, don't do that.
Right. And don't also
Especially the
try
older
and
generations, baby boomers, the greatest generation. My mom and dad, baby boomers, my grandparents, greatest generation, and they do not want to talk about their money. They will not.
oh,
They will clam up tighter than a. Yeah, You'll probably
right.
be written out of the will if you ask. Yeah,
Well, that's just it. It's do you have a will? That's a legit question.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
you can ask, am I in it? But you don't even need that. It's more
No,
about making sure things are in place. And so
yeah.
it's, hey, do you have beneficiaries named on the IRA? Do you have the house title? Do you have a ladybird deed? We did a show on that. Have you done some enhanced planning? That's the question. It's not how much money is it worth and are you going to leave me 50% of it? Or here's another one, Tony, you don't want to do. Oh, Dad, I'm thinking about opening a little record shop. It's going to cost about 100,000 or so, but my wife and I were thinking about where we're going to come with the money for that. By the way, how much do you have in your accounts? Like that's a bad sequence of
No,
conversation. Like
no.
you're kind of
Don't do
hinting
that.
that you need money,
Yeah,
and that is a big turnoff.
yeah.
So you don't want to bring these up because you're trying to get your fair share or you're trying to get your inheritance. You're bringing it up to prevent disharmony in the future. And the way
Right, to make
to
sure
keep the
that the
harmony,
planning takes place and get people thinking about, oh yeah, do I have I updated my will? Oh yeah, what's going to happen? What's the tax situation going to be? Oh yeah, we want
right?
to leave these kids with something, but oh yeah, we haven't paid for our funeral. We should let our kids know about that. I'm fortunate. My mom and dad, burial plots and funeral all paid for. They prepaid. That's the one area my parents were proactive and planned way ahead.
Yeah,
I
that's
wish they'd
huge.
done that with the rest of their affairs and finances. They did not.
And
But yes.
there's no better gift, really, than
Oh,
to pre-plan,
yeah.
right? Just makes so much easier because what happens is you pass away, your children are going to be in turmoil just because of the sadness, and then they have to figure out burial stuff when you could have figured it out. It's a pretty good gift, but it's hard. It's hard to talk about that because people
It
don't
is.
want to talk
Nope.
about it. I
No.
saw a great
Yeah.
billboard that got me thinking about this. I was driving up toward Ocala, and there was a billboard on a back road, and it was a woman, an older woman in a really ugly dress by any sense of the word. It
Yeah.
was an ugly dress, and it said it was from a funeral home that put the ad up. um if this is the dress you're going to be buried in unless you tell your kids otherwise, pre-plan. And then it gave the name of the funeral home. So
That's a good one.
stuff like
Yeah.
that. And
Makes
it
you
got me
think.
thinking, yeah, right? Like, yeah,
Right.
mom, I don't want to be buried in that.
Right.
But write it down. Write it
Yeah, I
down.
should write down
Right?
that I do, in fact, want to be buried in a Ghostbusters T-shirt. I wonder if my
Holding a
family will.
record, holding,
Holding a record.
who are you going to call? Ray William, or whatever his name was.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, so to conclude, Tony, I've seen it tear families apart. Like you said, a simple
yeah,
truck. I've
yeah,
seen I've seen a lot worse, minuscule value but sentimental value
yeah,
tear families apart.
yeah.
I've seen the IRS take hundreds of thousands of dollars that could have been prevented had they done things properly.
Sure.
So it causes a lot of trouble if you don't pre-plan. And so one better to pre-plan or at least agree to plan when you're all together at a holiday and say, hey, we should work as a team to figure this out. You're not alone, Dad, in figuring this out. We're here to help you. And, or, hey, kids, don't worry about it. I've taken care of things. Don't lie about that. Actually, do take care of things. So the goal isn't to hash it out at the Thanksgiving table. The goal is to agree to meet in the future and then hash it out. And I think that's the conclusion here, Tony. That's the main goal of having this conversation, in my opinion. And I'm hoping that you listeners will do it.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So that's it, Tony. That's
Yeah,
that's my Thanksgiving message, my holiday message.
that's a good take.
Plan it out. Don't be afraid. Tackle it head on because future planning just saves future headaches, right? That's
Right.
the way I look at it.
Yep. Exactly.
All right. Well, thanks for a good show, and hope you enjoy your holiday, and we'll catch everyone next week.
All matters discussed in today's show are for informational purposes only.
This show is not investment advice.
Dan Riddle nor Dolphin Financial Group are affiliated or endorsed by any government agency.
Investment advisory services are offered through Dolphin Wealth Management, Inc., a registered investment advisor in the state of Florida.
Insurance products and services are offered through Dolphin Insurance, Inc.
Dolphin Wealth Management, Inc. and Dolphin Insurance, Inc. are affiliated companies doing businesses as Dolphin Financial Group.
You should talk to someone at Dolphin Financial Group before implementing any of these strategies or ideas.